Have you ever, in your daily waking reality, ever experienced anything like a blackout, where you seem to disassociate and something else steps in and takes over? It could happen while you're drunk or under the influence of something mind-altering, but it could also happen from experiencing some heightened emotions such as anger. When the episode of blacking out is over, you feel embarrassed, you feel ashamed, guilty. You can't believe you acted that way. You can't believe you said those things. You can't believe you just did that. Well, what just happened? Let's talk about your ego's auto defense system. Hello, my loves. Welcome back to my channel. If you're new, I'm Leeor Alexandra. Welcome to the Baby Elephant community. On this channel, we talk about the law of attraction, spirituality, self-development, and so much more. And today, I want to talk about this concept because of something that I saw on Twitter recently, and it was really interesting to a lot of us. And that is about our ego, how our ego steps in to defend us, why it happens, how to work with your ego, how to make sure that it stops so that you don't black out in blind rage or, under the influence of something and completely leave your body. If this is something that you're familiar with, then this topic is for you. If you deal with somebody in your life who deals with these kinds of things, I highly recommend also learning about this to understand what happens to them. Before we get into the video, I just want to remind you to please subscribe to this channel if you haven't yet. If you've been watching a few videos and you like what you see and you want to be a part of the community, your subscription really helps the channel and I'd really appreciate it. Thank you so much. So an account I follow that I will link below recently posted this tweet about the ego. There's an instantaneous, unconscious, and nearly complete takeover by the ego if it feels threatened in any way. This is absolutely correct. Our ego developed to protect us from life-threatening danger, from predators, from other people who wish to do us harm, from life-threatening situations. The majority of humanity no longer has these dangers to face, but we have held on to this defense mechanism. We've inherited this often irrational fight, flight, and freeze response that is physiologically connected to our nervous system. And so now the ego, the part of the mind that is connected to the nervous system and that exists purely for survival, is up against different types of threatening situations, such as maybe somebody accusing you of lying and hurting your ego, right? A cheating partner or someone cutting you off on the road, someone giving you a good scare, scaring you, or anything of the sort that happens on a daily basis. Anything really can trigger the ego to take over. Whatever it is that makes you feel threatened, and that might be different for different people, the ego is prepared to take over at any moment. And you kind of know physically when situations like this arise because cortisol starts pumping into our bodies and we feel this kind of rush of chemicals flooding through our bodies. And during this process, sometimes blackouts will happen and people literally feel like it's not them. Something else took over. So when we are inebriated, right, when we are drunk, the soul kind of loosens its grip from the body. And therefore the ego can step in and take over thinking, oh, I need to protect this person because they're inebriated. So this of course happens when we're sober as well, when we just lose our cool. The ego takes over and begins to defend itself irrationally. Now, if any of my community watches the podcast from H3H3 Frenemies with Trisha Paytas, she has admitted that she has some mental health issues and that can also create those blackouts. But if you see her reaction and like the way that she wants to defend herself, how she backs herself into a corner and she starts to lash out, right? She lashes out at Ethan, bringing down his family, bringing him down, bringing up secrets. And then after this happens, a few episodes later, she's like, I hate that I did that. I hate that I went to that place. Now that is actually a pretty common thing that happens to people. This used to happen to me too. And I've seen it happen to some of people in my life. While for Trisha and for a lot of other people, it could definitely be a part of a mental illness. For even more people, it's just a common thing that happens when our ego feels like it needs to protect itself, when it doesn't feel safe. So in this state, the ego doesn't make proper decisions or connections because it's not using the mind. It's just using all the systems that it can turn on, the sympathetic nervous system, to defend. So it's not you. It's a primal lower version that really knows only how to act on instinct and survive. So on a personal note, just like I just said, I used to be one of those people who experienced this ego takeover really badly. I have memories of doing this. So sometimes it would happen after a long night of drinking, and sometimes it would happen when I was sober. But somebody would say something and I'd feel myself needing to defend myself. I'd get hot and red and cortisol flushed through my body, and I kind of blacked out and I said things I didn't mean, and I attacked and I got nasty, and it wasn't me. That's not who I am as a person. So what's happening to me here? What was happening is I never felt safe. I didn't feel like I could protect myself, and I felt like I was being threatened by somebody who was ganging up on me or pointing things out that I did not want to deal with. I didn't want them to point out within me, right? I remember that I would black out and I would attack. I would spew angry and disgusting things, and I wouldn't know how to stop. There would be a part of myself, which is my true self, who just wants me to stop. Like, why are you still talking? Why are you still saying these things? Please just stop. I want to go. Like, let me run. That's the flight, right? We want to run away. But back then, I wasn't able to stop myself. And I believe that that's because at that point in my life, I was weaker than my ego. My ego was strengthened by a life lived unconsciously, and the soul, who I truly am, my higher self, was weaker, or I did not have access to it at the time, right? So what can we do about this phenomenon? Are we doomed to destroy our relationships, our careers, our opportunities, events, and in an extension, our lives because of this ego defense mechanism? Absolutely not. I have great news for you. So through the years, I've done really deep inner shadow work. And little by little, I saw those automatic defense systems slowing down. I would notice myself suddenly reacting differently, more calmly, with more patience, with more compassion. I was more coherent, and this was very little by little. But I remember noticing, oh, whoa, in a situation like this a year ago, I would have freaked out, but I'm handling myself so calmly. And as time went on and I did more of that work, I found myself fully in control, fully able to protect myself when I feel threatened, not through the ego, but through the soul, through the heart, through love. And it got to the point where those blackouts no longer exist at all. Even if I'll have a drink, I don't become drunk anymore. I just don't do that. And I never have those blackouts of rage. I never feel also like I need to defend myself, because as your awareness expands and as your consciousness expands and as you detach little by little from the personality, which is the ego, you stop caring as much. You stop feeling like you have a stake to claim, like you have to defend yourself. And you actually start to laugh with the people who laugh at you. So I often shocked myself by this. It took a while until I trusted myself enough to know that this is who I was now, right? There were moments where I was like, oh my God, am I gonna freak out? Do I need to go take a breather? What's going on? But no, I was myself in situations where years ago would have triggered me to act out, lash out, have my ego out in full force in offense, defense, offense, all of it. So we don't want to be at the mercy and the whims of the ego. You want to be yourself at all times. You want to be in the body. You don't want to disassociate. And you want to make sure that you're acting the way that feels right for you, that is in alignment with how you feel. And if you feel anger, you can express it through compassion and love still. You don't have to revert to that primal defense mechanism in order to protect yourself, because you know that you are safe and that this person isn't harming you, so the ego doesn't have to protect you. So there are many ways to do this work. I've talked about some of these methods, and I could do several videos on all of these, but for now I just want to give you a list of different solutions to make the ego feel safe. This used to actually be called ego strengthening in hypnotherapy several decades ago. I don't think it's called ego strengthening anymore, because what we're doing is actually strengthening the soul, right? We're making the soul feel safe. And in extension, we're making the ego feel safe, because if the ego feels safe, then, it's out of the way, it's doing its own thing, and it doesn't feel like it has to come to the surface, right? So this list is a list of things that will over time help you to not experience those blackouts of rage and help you to not allow the ego to take over and to always be you. So number 1, be okay with having emotions and fully feeling them. I noticed often in those moments of rage that I was running away from my anger, and what we resist always persists. It chases after us. If you find yourself angry or frustrated or whatever emotion is boiling within you, allow it to be there. Don't run from it, because when you run from it, it will grow. I used to always say this saying, if you walk up to the lion, it cowers from you. If you run from the lion, it chases after you. This is the same with your fears and with your emotions. Number 2, make sure that your thoughts match your words and your words match your actions. Think, speak, and act in alignment with who you really are. The reason why you want to do this is because you want to start to build rapport and trust, rapport and trust with yourself, okay? So at some point in our lives, most of us, many of us, myself definitely included, and a lot of people I've spoken with about this topic, stop trusting themselves. And the reason we stop trusting ourselves is because we did something to our inner child, we did something to ourselves where our inner child was like, oh, I can't trust this adult. This adult is not taking care of me. They're not protecting me. They put me in dangerous situations. They've put me with dangerous people, so I can't trust myself. So you begin to experience an inner split in yourself. And when you start to make promises to yourself and keep those promises, like I will not drink tonight, or I will not go to this man's house, or I will not prioritize this other person over me. I will do this for myself. I'll do that for myself. And you start keeping those promises, then you're building this trust with your inner child. And little by little, your inner child is like, okay, this adult can take care of me. I can trust this person. I can trust myself. And then there's this completion, this cohesion that happens there. And you become more yourself because you can trust yourself. Does that make sense? Number 3, especially in these kinds of situations, learn to truly listen to what other people are saying to you. Always listen, right? And remind yourself to breathe and focus on what they are saying, especially if you're in a confrontation. Breathe and focus. Focus on what the other person is saying. Too often, we are already planning and preparing how to defend ourselves, how to attack. The ego gets turned on. The ego's like, okay, I got this. Let me step in. When we're listening and breathing, we're tethering ourselves to the present moment, and we're not allowing ourselves to leave our body and disassociate. Also, this focusing on the breath and actively listening will take you out of the fight, flight, freeze response. Number 4, if you don't already, begin journaling. Talk about how you feel in your journal all the time. Do stream of consciousness journaling. Let yourself empty. When we hold on to all these emotions and thoughts and we don't process ever, these things build up and we kind of lose track of how we really feel about things. You gotta let yourself process. So journaling is a really good way to do that. So number 5 is the reason I made this video. It's really what I want to talk about. This is the one thing I think that's most important that hardly anyone in modern society actively does. This is banking calm. You might know that if we miss out on sleep, we actually need to catch up on it. So if we sleep extra, we're banking sleep. And the more you sleep extra, you're paying back your sleep debt, right? In that same vein, we also need to bank calm. Through meditation, through yoga, through hypnotherapy, through deep breathing, breath work, and through just doing nothing, which seems crazy in this modern age because everything is so fast-paced. We're always doing a few things at once, multitasking, and just doing nothing once in a while, you're banking calm. The more we allow ourselves to relax, and it could be in whatever way you want. Golf might be super relaxing for you, or getting a massage, or taking a walk in the ocean, swimming. These things will relax you, right? The more we do this, the more we are training our parasympathetic nervous system to kick in. We don't use this part of our nervous system as often in modern society, and therefore we've never gotten good at allowing it to be automatic, right? But our ego in the sympathetic nervous system that kicks in to protect ourselves, our ancestors had hundreds of thousands of years of using that. So we've gotten really good in activating that system, and it activates really fast. But we have to actively activate our relax and cool down, relax and digest system. And then it can become automatic as well. So through meditation and through those other things we talked about that I listed, you will bank calm. So a person who meditates even 10 minutes every day is going to start little by little banking calm, and they're going to be able to be calm enough when the ego kicks in to be aware and conscious, right? And meditation makes us conscious and aware of our ego on its own. That's a whole process of becoming aware and becoming conscious of the ego and how it is separate and also the same as us. So banking calm is going to help you to breathe through it, through that blackout experience, to slow down the sympathetic nervous system and to be your true self, to allow your higher self to take over, to be the highest version of you rather than this low primal survival version of you. Ultimately, what you are doing with all these practices is creating feelings of safety. You're showing up for your inner child and you're saying, it's okay. I got you. You can trust me now. I know that for years you couldn't trust me. For years I didn't protect you and I didn't show up for you. But now I'm committing to take care of you. I'm committing to regain your trust and to become whole again. If you know yourself better, you can trust yourself better, and therefore you're going to feel safe no matter what. So these things will take practice for sure, but it takes a commitment, and you can start today. You can start today to allow the soul to flow in and to tell your ego, you know what? I'm starting this, your ego and your inner child, I'm starting this journey back to myself. I'm going to protect us. I'm going to take care of us. I got us. I don't need anybody outside of myself to provide for me, to take care of me. I'm going to make myself feel safe. I got us. So let me know if this resonated with you and what practices you might use for your own life. If you know what I'm talking about with that ego takeover, a lot of people on Twitter seem to understand what I was talking about. If it's a little bit vague, let me know in the comments below, and I'd love to keep the conversation going. And thank you so much for watching. Please give this video a thumbs up if you liked it. And as always, keep your vibration way up.